be a quick video on how to do the assembly of your parts for this exercise and how to bring in components from the content library. So you're going to want to start off by clicking on the new button up here and making sure you're getting a standard assembly drawing, and it's going to be saved as an IAM file. So once you open that up, double click. This is where it starts to become really important to make sure you're putting all of your files in the same folder for that project, otherwise your computer won't be able to find them. We're going to start off by placing a component. I always like to place a component that I consider to be somewhat more of the base, so something that is to be more of the fixed object. So for me, I'm considering this the base and this to be more of a moving object. So I'll place that in and I'll show you why I find that important. So it brings that in. I can just left click and that places it. I could put down multiple ones of these, but I only want one, so I'm just going to press escape and that's it there. I'm going to come up to the part now and I'll right click, and I always like to ground my first component. So there's grounded, and you'll notice the little thumbtack has come into play now, and that's making that grounded on my sheet, so to speak. So I'm not going to move around as much. The next part that I want to bring in for this one here is going to be my corner support, and so I'll double click and I'll just place that in there, and I'll right click and click OK. Now I was doing this the other day and I found that I've left on this plane here. Started to become quite annoying when trying to select things. If you find that's the case, if you double click on it, that makes the part active. I can then return back to my assembly at any time by clicking that button there. But what I can do is right click on that and turn the visibility off. Probably do that for the other ones as well, but I'll leave them on there for now and I'll look more into that. There might be a way to turn off all those dimensions at once. I'll get back to that in class, but for now that's to turn that plane off if you've got that as a problem. Click return, I get back into my drawing. Okay, so now what I need to do is I need to establish, and there's an example given to you as to what the top and bottom is on your assignment task sheet, and basically looking at it, this elongated hole is offset from the center, so the bigger gap or bigger distance is to the bottom. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this part and I'm going to use what's called free rotate, and I'm going to place the part. It doesn't have to be perfect, but if I get it somewhere close to how it's going to join into my other part, I often find I get a much better result. So that almost like a little mortise and tenon is going into that keyway there, and it's going to be able to slide up and down. If you take a look at the plans, that's 20mm wide and it only comes out 6mm. And then if you look at this one here, that's 20, but it's I believe it's 8mm, sorry, it's 7mm deep, so there should be a 1mm difference. Why that's important is because I'm looking at this and I'm going, okay, well, that surface there, shift middle mouse wheel, and that surface, they don't actually touch. There'll be a 1mm gap. So the only things that are touching are the side walls of this one here. So I've got to try to think about this logically before I start constraining it, because I don't want to over constrain it. So for me, I go, okay, well, I know that if I click on constrain, I know that that edge there, that edge is going to be running up and down that edge, and so that's pulled that into there, and I can go cool, and I'm just going to click OK. So what that means is that that edge now is now stuck. They're stuck together. It can still pivot on there, however, so I need to fix that up. So to stop it pivoting, what I'm going to do now is I'll say constrain, and I want that edge, shift, to constrain to that edge, and I'll click OK. And so now I've got two constraints on those edges, and so it is doing what it's intended to do in real life, and that is to be able to slide up and down in that manner there. If you take a look at the example, the way that they have this object sitting when it's shown in the pictorial. Sorry guys, not having much fun with my pivoting tool here. There we go. This top edge is actually flush. So if I was to go constrain and I said that edge there is going to be flush with this face. Okay. At the moment, nothing happens. Up in my dialog box, I've got what's called mate. And so that's sticking two faces together essentially. What I want them to be is I want them to be flush. So if I was to come over here and go flush, that then brings those two surfaces up nice and flush. So you look on the side view, there's no gap there. There's the 1 mil gap I was talking about earlier, but that's the difference between flush and mate. So now that I've got that done, I'm looking pretty good. I'm pretty happy about that. It's time to put in some bolts, and there's some very specific bolts to go into here and some nuts. There's also a washer. Now, I haven't done a heap of assemblies using the content library, and I'm yet to find a way to chuck in a washer and a bolt at the same time. So you kind of got to do it a little bit logically, as similar to how you would put it together in real life. And so we're going to have a bolt coming through here, but before the bolt goes in, there'll be a washer. So what I'm going to do now is, instead of placing from drawings I have, I'm going to left click down here and I'm going to say place from content center. On your task sheet, it shows you the types of fixings that you need. You can come straight up here into the search and you can start typing in what you're looking for, or you could go into fasteners and we've got washers, and we're going to use a plain washer today. And the one that it says on the task sheet is an AS1237. Okay, but it's a 12 mil. I found it in this folder here, which is 1237, but it's the 4.1. Okay, and that will give you a flat metal washer for general engineering. It's what it asks for. So that's the one you want. Now, excuse all the interruptions. If you hover, now the trick to this is just hovering a little bit longer than you need to, just really let the computer work it out. Go away. Get a few of these. So hover, let it work itself out there. I'm going to left click and then insert multiple, I think is the one we want. And then I can sort of, not sure why it's red, I'd rather it be green, but we'll see what happens. And we'll apply. No, didn't give me the two. No biggie because it's already still loaded up. If I just hover over that and make sure I'm getting it on that outside edge, and I'll click on the green tick, there's my two washers. I'm going to press escape now and that'll get me out of that command. So I've got two washers now. You'll see they're slightly bigger than the hole for the bolt, and that's on purpose, so there's clearance when it's going through the bolt. The next thing I want to place now is still from the content center, and it's going to be a bolt this time. So I'm going to go into bolts. It's a socket head one, this one, and we're looking for a AS1420 1973. Okay, now so this is where you might go, well, there's AS, what did I say, 1420, yep. Oh, I don't know if that's the right one actually. No, AS 1420, I'm not sure what the 1973 is. I'm just going to go back into here. So, I'll have a quick look for it. But if you get stuck with any of this stuff, I'll just go up into the search and I'm going to go AS 1420 20-1973. It's going to be an M12 by 60, but if I just put that in for now, there it is there. So that, I think the 1973 part, I'm a bit stuck on that, but that's definitely the bolt I want. And what's going to happen now is I want to make sure, this is where I zoom in, I want to make sure that I've got that outside edge. Okay, if I put the bottom edge, it'll just put it inside of the washer, which is physically impossible, but that's how it's going to model it. So if I left click, oops, we'll go again, that didn't work. Not having much luck today. There it is there. I'm going to left click. There was one for changing the size. There we go, change size. That now comes up, so I've got an M12. So it's giving me the 12mm just off the hole size, which is pretty cool. And it calls for a 60mm long bolt. I'm going to apply that. And okay. I'll just do the same again. Hover on that one there. If you got a bit excited and you whack that in straight away, I'm pretty sure you can right click on it and go edit. No, sorry. In here, I should be able to go edit and I could do the whole size on it. Machine's making a liar out of me again. So, I'm glad I'm having this problem. You might be able to see why. So it's giving me the automatic hole size. Now, with this, if I don't get it this time round, I might pause the video and figure out why. I did it yesterday, it's quite easy. Change size. So it's not edit, you want change size. So change size and then 60. Apply and then OK. Cool. So that's looking good there. And then one last thing to show you, and then I'm done here. So I'm going to go another one, place from center. This time I'm going to want a, under fasteners, let's go nut, and we'll go other, or you could type it in from the start. So I'm looking for a JISB 1163 metric. There it is there. But if you take a look, that's going to place it there. Now I want it to sit onto that shoulder there, so I'm just going to do that for now. Just do one left click, and then you read down the bottom here, it says select a planar face. So we want it to sit on that face there. So take your time selecting these and zoom in if it's not working for you. So I select that one there. Now the issue that I've had with this is that it has put that face, those two faces together, but it hasn't orientated the boat correctly. The nut correctly. So I'm going to go constrain that face with that face, and at the moment it's doing a mate, so it's putting the two faces together. I'll click OK. And so that's spun that around exactly where I want it. You would then do the same to this one here. So select a thread or cylinder is what the computer's asking me. Boom. Select a face, that one there. Let's put that in. Constrain that face. Shift middle mouse wheel to pan around with that face, and OK. That's your assembly done. Now when you go to save this, make sure you're saving it back in your same project and in that correct folder so that everything can find each other.